Can I beat Rimworld Anomaly in under 100 days if I crank the anomaly settings up to the maximum? Well, no sense in waiting, it's time to rush. So we activate the monolith immediately after landing, and naturally get attacked by a side stealer the first night, just as we finish building a basic barracks. With the anomaly start, we've got 3 colonists and a ghoul. Gale, the leader of the lot, is also a nervous wreck, being both too smart and very neurotic, though psychically hypersensitive will help as the ritual leader. Ruse, who is our general labourer, and Lexi, who is slated to become a production specialist. There is also Nada, the ghoul, whose main job is being a wall of flesh between enemies and important people. With some basic living quarters down, we start performing our festivals. Despite all the sky lanterns we sent out, we only had one person willing to join us. A 3-year-old child named Zyg. Well, whatever. Children in Rimworld are essentially on permanent hauling and cleaning duty, so at least this will free up the more important colonists. Right after, Ruse becomes the first colonist to have a breakdown, and becomes inhuman in the process. The dead look in his eyes, and the fact that he never speaks to anyone anymore, tells me that we should choose a colony name to avoid any suspicion. Ah, perfect. No one will ever suspect anything now. We accept the quest for a fleeing noble, running away from a surprisingly fierce guinea pig that became ghoul lunch. We then send the same noble that was scared of a single guinea pig into combat with a scorcher mech. The noble shooting lightning at the mech, stunning it, giving us time to pour in figurative fire, while the mech poured in literal fire at us. Thankfully, no one important got hurt. So, Gale became a Psycaster. Using Vanilla Psycast Expanded, she was going to go down the Skipmaster tree. Meanwhile, Lexi inserted the mech chip and became a Mechanitor. I'm certain that both will make great use of these features. What Lexi will definitely use more of, though, is becoming the group's production specialist. Soon, shotguns for everyone. Now that we are decently armed, it's time to start poking an ancient and all-powerful machine intelligence with a stick to see what it'll do. However, all the Void sent us was a single paralyzed ghoul. Maybe we need a bigger stick to poke with. Regardless, while we wait for this future huge threat, we managed to get our outer walls built, even if they are just made of wood for now. But it's fine. When have wooden defenses ever burnt down? With several side stealers and the new ghoul in containment, we managed to unlock ghoul infusion, and allowing us to create our own ghouls. Well, time to kidnap a nearby wild man and shove a shard in him. Remember, there's no such thing as human rights, just human suggestions. And my suggestion is that Kamisa becomes an unthinkable, unfeeling killing machine. Well, now with another expendable meat shield, it's time to poke the Void again. This time, the Void sends us 2 whole Shamblers. Well, 2 ghouls and a couple of shotguns make short work of them. Soon, a deadly emergence was happening. A rumbling of the earth, ready to spurt out unspeakable horrors. Or just a single horror, as all that emerged was a single finger-spike flesh beast. With the skip abduct ritual unlocked, we decided to give it a try, and kidnapped a Neanderthal named Vetobar. Well, Neanderthals are pretty tough, so let's shove a shard into him and give us our third. He'll be fine when he wakes up from his psychic shock in 11 days. More void poking, with Gale being knocked down. Again. And this time we are rewarded, or punished, with a Gore Hulk assault of 2 whole Gore Hulks. While their spines might be dangerous, we have ghouls as meat shields, and like all other entities, they aren't immune to shotgun blasts. We now attempt to do more festivals in hope of gaining more colonists, and we failed nearly all of them, with Gale getting so sick of the failed rituals that she has an inhumanization mental break right in the middle of a festival and wanders off. Our only successful ritual giving us Fugly, with a man so hideously ugly that the average person is repulsed by even looking in his general direction. We naturally made him our main social colonist, which is good because a shuttle crash gave us 2 potential recruits in Chestnut and Abram. Yes, I am desperate for more colonists if I'm thinking that the 85-year-old frail pyromaniac is a good option. It is now day 24, nearly a quarter into our time limit, and I decide that now is a good enough time to upgrade the monolith up to tier 2. Normally, upgrading the monolith is supposed to cause an event to happen, either a weather event or a flesh pit, but this time we ended up with nothing happening. Well, time to make something happen. Our next Void Provoke ended with a death pole falling over the area, bringing the dead back as zombies. Being both smart and cowardly, we decide that the smartest option is to sit inside our little safe box and watch the wildlife tear each other apart. I now present the most dangerous of all fights, a zombie rabbit versus a guinea pig. The guinea pig won, the joke's on it, the rabbit is just going to get up again shortly. Nothing else of note happens during the death ball. We hide inside our walls until the weather clears up. The newly cleared up weather, however, was ruined by some cultists attempting to skip abduct our colonists. Like a lot of entities, their fate was shotgun. With the losers dead, we void provoked again, getting more bad weather, this time in the form of blood rain. The trader that was visiting at the time must know, because they didn't stick around. But much like the death pole, we just stayed inside until it all blew over. Soon we get a quest from the Empire to help a shuttle, with a colonist as a reward. Another kinda mediocre person, but we're not really picky about what we get here. The attack went about as well as expected. The Empire could have handled this by themselves, but we help out and captured a prisoner for recruitment, Dumpling, and welcome Gramps, a reward for finishing that quest. And then, descending from the heavens is the form of a celestial body. Its form is one of divine glory. Its shape is that of perfect symmetry. Its luster is that of Rheingold. It is so beautiful that any creature looking upon it will be instantly captivated. But we don't want to have to deal with this, so into a transport pod it goes. Let's load it up with some weapons and send it off to the Civil Outlanders. I'm certain this won't be a horrible time for them. Who will definitely have an awful time is Gale, who got obsessed with the cube before it was sent away. But despite her obsession, she still has work to do. So her, Gramps, and the ghouls all get launched off to go deal with a bandit camp, with the promised reward being some advanced components. After some quick fighting, we also manage to capture Zin, a genie. While Gale is off murdering people, Fugly is promoted to our moral guide, with the only one to witness his promotion is Zyg, our colony's small child. Yeah, Fugly, I'm certain you have many good qualities to show that small child. Well anyways, another skip abduct gives us an impet this time. He's only going to end up as free organs though. Now time for more combat. The A-team goes off again to help with the distress call. The combat here goes about as expected, with the ghouls taking hits and the humans gunning everything down. However, while the A-team was away, a group of hate chanters arrive at our colony, meaning it's up to the B-team. And while Fugly isn't capable of violence, he is, however, capable of getting knifed a bunch so our combat-capable colonists can keep shooting. Don't worry about Fugly though, he's having the time of his life. Well, in the raid, we do manage to capture Franklin and start harvesting his organs. Very poorly. Gale managed to fail 3 times during it, likely due to her mind constantly wandering, thinking about the glory of the Golden Cube. Definitely had nothing to do with the fact that the operating table was a dirty corner in the living room. No, must have been the cube. With another Void Provoke, we are sent a single Devourer this time, which was also as a royal tribute collector was waiting outside. They managed to gun it down, and we got ourselves a free Devourer. Running more festivals and throwing even more sky lanterns upwards, we get 2 recruits this time. Banks, a neurotic pyromaniac who's only really decent at melee and nothing else. And Dorsey, an industrious colonist, but one that is really only good at melee and shooting. Both of them have good skill in animals, but it's not going to mean anything when they become inhuman and lose all that skill. Banks gets given a knife and essentially becomes a pseudo-ghoul for combat, while we end up making Dorsey our shooting specialist. It's not hard to see which one is the better of the 2 baddies. And now, after way too long, Avram is finally recruited. You know, that 85-year-old pyromaniac with half a dozen health problems and no useful skills. We only take the best here at the totally normal town. We do immediately get him to lead a chronophage ritual, so at least he's not as close to death. The despair of throwing the cube away has become too much for Gale, and she falls into a coma right in the doorway. And with our leader having an extended nap, a group of shamblers decide to assault the base. We clear out one side of the base, while most of the zombies get distracted ripping apart some travelers. Also, a random timberwolf decides that this is the perfect time to hunt us, and gets put down for its trouble, before we turn our attention back to the shamblers. The travelers at this stage are all dead or fleeing, so with the zombies scattered about, we move in and sweep over them. It's starting to seem like every fight we've had lately ends up with us getting help from random travelers. We don't even need ally call-ins at this point. And look at that, a piece of strange metal flesh has been found in the colony, meaning someone here has a metal horror in them. For now, all we can do is wait and watch. Right after Dorsey becomes the shooting specialist, a corpse drops from the sky, looking exactly like her. Her reward for getting an important role, I suppose. Dorsey is obviously unnerved by this, but she wouldn't be if she just became a human. In any case, we'll just study the corpse for now. Another skip abduct gives us a Neanderthal named Reindeer. He gets jammed with a shard and made into a ghoul. A nosiosphere also teleports in as we are doing that. For now, it's just free bioferrite to research. Short on components, a small team drops at a nearby site to steal what we can. However, with the exception of a single small turret, the whole site is completely empty. Whoever mined the components decided to leave everything here and go elsewhere, or maybe they saw our drop pods and didn't want to die, hoping to rob the people of their food as well. This leaves the ghouls and colonists I brought with me hungry on the trip home. We soon find another piece of mysterious grey flesh, located directly on top of Gale's meditation spot. Wonderful. Well, looks like we've solved the problem of who has the metal horror inside of them. Just need to finish researching it to cut it out of Gale. Another recruit joins the colony, this time the pigskin dumpling. He'll be a new miner for us. Well, get to it, dumpling. A dry thunderstorm started lighting the surrounding area on fire. I didn't give it too much thought, as Zyg finally turned 7, and has his first growth moment, picking up shooting intellectual as passions and pretty as a trait. Oh hey, I only just noticed that the base is on fire. Yeah, maybe I should do something about that. We accept a quest to bring down a ship with a Sanguophage on it. The ship came down right next to Graham's. The rest of the colony came out to assist as Gramps ran away from the angry vampire, but to no avail, and Gramps gets cut down and killed, marking him as the first death in the colony. The vampire Mal we managed to capture will start the slow process to recruit them, with their over 20 resistance. Gramps did not go to waste either. He was going to be very tasty. With another void provoke, the sky dims, and an unnatural darkness settles over the whole colony. While we could wait this event out and stay inside like we did with the Blood Rain or the Death Pole, we didn't have the time, so we form an assault. Gale finally gets a chance to show off her psychcasting abilities, using solar pinhole to form a path of light to the structures, with a brief stop to heal our stupidity-caused wounds. Seriously, they just walk right into the darkness, even when there's a path available. It's at this point where I have to check the difficulty. Yes, I didn't make any mistakes, I just still have tiny raids at this point. And with the last structure, and the 3 whole Noctuls killed, the unnatural darkness was lifted. Well, at least now I don't have to build sun lamps for the drugs. Another 2 ghouls join us. First is Duck, who we kidnapped from some passing travelers, and Golo, a skip abducted target. Now is about time to open up the ancient danger. Some flesh beasts pop out, and the whole fight turns into a horrible melee. Fugly gets used as a masochist training dummy. The 5 ghouls really come in handy here. We take a break to heal up, and then open up the caskets, getting ourselves 3 new prisoners. 2 will become colonists, and the 3rd will become a ghoul. Abraham finishes his rounds of chronophagy, and is now a young, fit, 38-year-old man with all of his health problems gone. Isn't evil space magic neat? A strange whistling can be heard. I look around the map trying to find what it could be, before... it's an obelisk falling from the sky. Neat. During a festival, Fugly stood uncomfortably close to Banks, and realized it's Banks that's infested with the metal horror. Somehow. Well, regardless of the stupid reason about how we worked it out, a quick, heavily guarded surgery later, and our slight metal horror problem was over, and we can stop being so suspicious of Gale. We also have some new people join too. Zin, a captured genie that becomes a production specialist that we captured a while ago, Vector, and Texacoto are also new recruits from our festivals, though the last two are really just more guns at this stage. A giant rumbling starts happening, shaking the whole map, before the world opens up a new hole, spraying its bowels all over my colony. The flesh beasts do break past the outer walls of the colony. We start by killing those that get inside. After a sweep around to make sure the area is clear, we get prepared and enter the flesh hole. While deep in the underground, we move through the hole tactfully. Like most of our combat, we aim to have the ghouls take hits while the humans open fire. After exploring for a little bit, we find the broodmother and put her down, clearing the colony of the flesh pit. The corrupted obelisk is now ready, so stepping up is our leader Gale. The clone, however, is hostile and manages to beat the shit out of our new recruit, Mousos, before being put down herself by the ghouls. She, however, got a destroyed arm and lung in the process. Clone Gale wouldn't last long though, as she attempted a prison break with Mal not long later, and she got killed for her effort. With the amount of effort Mal has been, and with how long it's going to take before he is finally recruited, I say, screw it, and ghoulify the vampire. Well, if the flesh pit wasn't enough fleshy fun, we have another pit ready to pop open and spray us with flesh goodness. This one is an outie though, with it being a flesh mass heart. Some friendlies drop pod in to clear the heart for us, and they get brutally murdered for their effort. Well, time to send in some more competent people. In other words, my own. As we are shooting through the near endless waves of monstrosities, mood starts to waver, with our first person to have a break being Zyg, who goes berserk. The rest of the group guns down the charge without any hesitation and moves on to complete the mission, initiating a heart attack in the flesh mass heart and killing it. Not long after the death of Zyg and the flesh mass, we lose another colonist, a recent recruit, Nectaros, who died of the plague, while his immunity was at 93%, and his condition was at 90%. At least he had the courtesy to die in the corpse freezer. An adorable little rat decides to sleep right in front of the unholy Eldritch monolith. We are impressed by such bravery of the creature, so we tame it and call it Little Horn. A warped obelisk also falls from the sky, giving us another target to study. We are now in preparation to start the finale. We run our final lot of festivals, and gain 3 new colonists, one of which being a child. Gale, who was already a mess both physically and mentally at this point, makes her preparations by taking a dose of Luciferium. Gale steps up to awaken the monolith. It's been 89 days, and... While awakening the monolith, I probably should have checked where my colonists actually were. With the new child, Bamboo, being outside the walls and right next to one of the fresh void structures. The whole colony mobilizes to save the child, with Bamboo only being stabbed by the metal horrors just a couple of times. Though we did lose one of our ghouls in the rescue attempt. The team moves up to the first void sculpture and assumes defensive positions as Gale activates it, with Goreholts and Devourers beginning to attack us. Bang switched out her old knife for a flamer at this stage, which I'm certain that we won't come to regret at all in the very near future. Like when Vector, who is terrified of fire, starts fleeing the flames straight away. But Vector can deal with it, as we moved up to the second void sculpture, with Gale activating it again. This time, we had an assault of Sight Stealers and Noctals. We left a sizable chunk of the forest on fire as we finished them off, then went to rest for the day until the next void sculptures appear. While resting, the warped obelisk had other ideas, teleporting Gale into a horrible, infinite twisted maze of halls and false doors. Navigating to the exit of this place would be a nightmare. For anyone that isn't a skip master, Gale just casts skip door and walks out straight away. We attempt to void provoke just for the fun of it, but it turns out void provokes failed during the anomaly finale. With the sky darkening, the next set of void sculptures appear, The assault team moves out into the now burnt down forest, illuminated by the solar pinholes from Gale. The first sculpture goes down mostly well, with some shamblers knocking some holes in the wall. We wait to recover before taking on the next, but completely forget to suppress the twisted obelisk. It began twisting every animal on the map into a flesh beast, some of which breached into our walls. In hindsight, having Banks and her flamethrower help take down these flesh beasts wasn't such a good idea, as now the base is on fire, and Vector has fled off alone and is getting torn apart by Ghoul hulks, and we have dozens of flesh beasts in the core of the base now, and the base is now very much on fire, and Bamboo has been taken down. With flesh beasts destroying the generators, we only have so much light before we all die, so it's a desperate now or never attempt on the final two sculptures, which we start our push just in time for the corrupted obelisk to activate, giving us a bunch of our own clones that had to be put down as we moved out. We reached the first sculpture as we looked back at the base, and yep, that is a big fire. And now all the captured entities are escaping too. Oh, and Fugly is burning alive in his room. Don't worry, he's probably liking it, and he's dead. And so is Vector. With Gale running nearly out of Psycast juice, activating the last sculpture, we hold out against the thankfully small assaults near the remains of the base. In some cases, using it as a reverse kill box. With all the sculptures activated, we made a move towards the monolith. Now, we're starting to have breakdowns with this horrible mood, with Zin snapping first. Thankfully, we hold out long enough for Gale to activate the monolith. And now, Gale, faced with the power of the Dark Architect, she does the obvious choice in front of her, and melds her mind with it, gaining its unholy powers. This is fine.